Hey everybody, it's Murphy Gray Hunter. Man, it is pouring outside. Okay, I just ran from downstairs, upstairs, because my daughter's like, I see something, a bug or something. And I went and looked and it was nothing. It's like, okay. So anyway, so it is still Monday, November 7th. And this video is going to talk about my friend's experience with a demon. Okay, so my friend, we used to work together at a hospital, and we worked at night. And I was sitting there reading a book on the crossroads, and she was like, asking me, like, basically asking me, like, do you know what the crossroads are, and do you know it's dangerous? But basically just wanted to make sure that I knew what I was, that I wasn't going to try to make a deal with the devil myself. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. I said, I'm just reading this stuff because it's really interesting to me. And so, anyway, so she was telling me, because I have a story that I want to tell you. And so she was telling me about a friend of hers. Sorry, guys. My lips are so chapped. Look at this. I think I showed y'all this on a shopping haul that I did. It's my Ouija board. My Ouija board chapstick. Smells good, but tastes like absolutely nothing. Anyway, so we were, she told me that she had a friend who she used to work with. Now, her husband is a professor and a preacher. He teaches theology at the colleges. So she said that with his job, they travel everywhere with his job, right? Wherever it's needed for him to come in and speak or whatever, right? So anyway, she was telling me about how she went. Oh, I found one paper that I needed. She was telling me how she went to this one. They used to go to different countries, right? Because of his job, he also did exorcisms, right? And so she says that there was a great need for exorcisms, like in countries, like small countries. She said they traveled a lot in countries like small places in Africa, little like villages and stuff. She said they traveled a lot and they did a lot of exorcisms there. She says, which was crazy, that the amount of need for exorcisms. But she says that her husband told her that the need for exorcisms were really high in little places like that, because the demons, they would seek out the vulnerable. And when you need money and life is hard, you are vulnerable and you'll do anything to have stuff, right? At that rate, they were just needing basic, food and shelter and, things like that. So, or if their loved one was sick. So anyway, she said they traveled a lot, and a lot of places were in, also in state, where they did a lot of exorcisms. And she says usually the exorcisms that were in state were, and not just in state, I say a lot of the exorcisms that he performed were from people who would try to sell their soul to the devil in exchange for wealth. And so when they were calling the demon, they ended up summoning another demon, and that demon just took over their body. And so that's what a lot of it was from. If y'all know anything about demons, you know that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of demons out there just waiting for a host, waiting for someone who's vulnerable enough to take over their body. Whether you believe that or not, that is, you can read about that. There's so many documentaries of stuff that's happened to people like that. But anyway, back to the story. So she said that this one woman that she was working with, she came to her after it was too late. She says that she was also a traveling nurse, the friend of my friend. Let's call my friend, my friend's friend, Jane. Okay. So my friend, she said that Jane, her co-worker, came to her and told her that she needed their help. She needed the help of her husband because, you know, these things had happened and she was terrified. So basically what had been happening was that my friend Laurel, she said that Jane had been missing from work. They hadn't seen her. Nobody knew who she was. You know, she was already about to lose her job. That, you know, boss had been calling her, nothing. You know, nobody knew what was happening. And so she lived there in some house, and her brother lived there with her. And I don't know what the story, if he traveled with her or what it was, but the brother was there, and the brother didn't work. And so she says that one day the brother was sitting outside with his friend, and they were drinking beer, and they had one of those, you know, those little fire pits, and they were sitting there by the fire pit. And she said that this is according to Jane's brother, said to her that when he was telling her the story, that they were sitting around drinking beer, and they were just talking about how it sucks that they don't have money and that they can't get jobs, and that wouldn't it be nice if they could just be rich? What can they do to be rich? And one of the guys says, well, hey, let's just, you know, the friend, Jane's brother's friend, said, let's sell our soul to the devil, man. Let's call and see if it works. So he said, okay, let's do it. So they did. They started calling out for him, and they were like saying, hey, mother effer, you know, come bring your, you know, bring your ass here. And like they were saying a lot of vulgar things. And finally they got the attention of a demon. And whether it was a devil or not, I don't know. But they got the attention of a demon. And they said that all of a sudden this huge thing appeared. Now, they're sitting on here, and here is the fire pit. This is the fire pit. And the demon came up on this side. So as he, you know, as he like rose up like this, he was huge. They just saw this big, black, massive silhouette, but they didn't know, they couldn't really tell what it was, but they could just see the silhouette because, you know, it was behind the fire. And so, and it was at nighttime. So they got scared, and they took off running inside, and they could look out the kitchen window, and they could see the backyard, and they could see him there, see the demon there, and he was calling out for them, telling them to come out. And they were like, no, we're not going out, we're not going out. And so that they said that the demon had said to them, he's not leaving, he's not going anywhere until he finds out what they wanted. They summoned him, he's there, what do you want? And so they stayed inside the rest of the night. And so then the next day, you know, the morning came and he was gone. The demon was gone. So they just thought, okay, you know, the demon's gone, you know, let's not talk about it. Let's just, you know, hopefully, you know, it's gone and it will leave us alone. So I don't know if weeks passed or days passed, but some time had passed. And all of a sudden, Jane said that the police had came to her house questioning her brother about his friend. Like, when was the last time he saw him? Did he have any enemies? Blah, blah, blah. That he was missing. And his room, I don't know who he was living with, but they found his room they heard screaming. They heard screaming in the middle of the night. And so when whoever he was living with opened up the door, they finally, you know, because they couldn't open the door. They could hear him screaming, but they couldn't open the door. And so all of a sudden, they said he stopped screaming, and they could open the door. And they saw, like, the sheets were all shredded, and there was blood all over the place. And there was just, like, scratches all over the wall, and just the whole room was a mess, but it was just full of blood and chunks of stuff. You know, I'm guessing it was pieces of him. I don't know. And so they were trying to, but there was no force entry, like the window was closed. No one had tried to come into their house, so they didn't know what had happened, or, you know. So anyway, so Jane's brother, in the back of his head, he was like, oh man, it's probably that demon came after and got him. You know, because he said, Jane's brother said that the demon was really upset as time passed. He was just pacing out there, and he was really pissed off, and he was just like telling him, get out here, you know, and kept telling him, you better come to me, you know, and tell me what you want, and blah, blah, you know, like just telling him that the whole night. And so, so he knew that he was going to get it next. And so, I don't know, again, how much time had passed since the brother's friend was missing until this happened. Jane, my friend's friend Jane, she said that she was at home one day and she heard this car screeching, sounded like it almost had hit the house, and she ran outside, and the brother was running inside. He had jumped over the curb, rode across the grass, almost hit the house, trying to get inside. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, he kept saying, it's in the back seat. It's in the back seat. And she's like, what's in the back seat? And he was like, the demon's in the back seat. And he was like so terrified, and he took off running, and he was hiding. And so she goes outside. She's like, what are you talking about? You know, and she goes outside, and she says that she got closer to the car. She could hear the car was on and everything. As she got closer to the car, she said this arm came out. Like, just, you know how you put your arm out like this onto the, you know, on the window? Well, this was in the back seat. She said it was this really long, muscular, big arm. And she said it was covered in black fur, like short fur, like a dog. She said like a short hair dog, you know, all over. But she said it was real muscular, and it was really big. And at the end of it had fingers, but it had claws, like long claws. And she said she saw that. She took off screaming inside. And so she said, you know, eventually it just went away. And she said she never saw it. She only saw the arm. And so she told her brother, she was like, you know, what is that? Tell me what happened, whatever. So he told her the whole story. And she's like, we got to call the police. We got to do something. He's like, no, because we're going to get blamed. I'll get blamed. I'll go to jail and blah, blah, blah. You know, so he was like so worried, and he didn't know what to do. He was already losing his mind because he hadn't been eating or sleeping, you know, because he was so scared of this. And so, he was just, you know, telling her, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And so, she told him, I'm going to talk to my friend Laurel because, her husband does exorcism. He's a preacher. He does exorcisms, and you know, he studies theology, and he can help in this. You know, this is what he does. So he's like, okay. So the next morning, she was going to go find Laurel, and she said that when they stayed in a 2-story house, so she said she walked like in front of, because you know how some staircases are like right there in the front doors right there. That's how this house was. And she was walking to go to the door, and she looked up because she could tell something was there. And she looked up, and she saw the demon like completely head to toe. She said that it was on the top of the staircase, so she doesn't know how big it was, but she said it was huge, like it was like right underneath the ceiling, like it was right there. She said it was pretty big. And she says that it was completely black and covered in black fur, like the way the arm was. So it was all completely covered in black fur. She said it had the body of a huge, muscular, massive man, but the feet had animal hoofs, hoofs, right? Yeah. On just two legs. Oh, my back is itching. Two legs with the animal hoofs on the back. Or is it hoofs or hoofs? Yeah. Sounds ridiculous when I say that. Anyway, so she saw 2 of those, and then the arms, you know, have the claws at the end. And she said the head was had a big head, and they had like ram horns, kind of like, she said that's what it reminded her of, like ram horns, but they kind of like swirled and they kind of like went out. And she said that the face was like a goat, but of a goat and a man intertwined together. So if you can imagine like taking a goat and a man's face and morphing it together. She said it, and it had like sharp teeth, like fangs. And she said that she was so terrified, like she couldn't move. She said she was so afraid. She just said she felt this fear like just take over her. Like she said she felt like the blood just ran out of her body. Like she just said she was just so scared. And I know what she's talking about when you get so scared and you can't talk and you just, you know, she just said she just got so frightened. She had never been so frightened in all her life. And she said that she was just looking at it. Like she said it felt like it was a long time, but she said really it was just like seconds or, you know, minutes. And she says that she looked at it and she was screaming, and she said, "What do you want?" You know, or something like that. And it told her, "I don't want you. I came for him," because he was asleep in the room. And she said that she got pushed by someone or him or whatever. She got pushed out the door, and the door slammed behind her. And she got up and she tried to open the door, and she was banging on the door. She couldn't get the door. She could hear her brother screaming. She heard all this banging and boom, 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 and screaming and just screaming in agony. And she couldn't open the door. And finally, the door opened, and it was completely quiet. And she ran up, and the same thing, blood all over the place, pieces of skin and things like that, and everything was just torn apart in the room and outside the room, like where the room and outside, where I guess where he tried to run out. And she disappeared. And so she went to my friend Laurel after this to speak to her husband, and she said that the husband had told her that the brother had summoned some kind of demon, that you don't have to do anything special to summon a demon. There are thousands and thousands of demons out there that are just waiting for the opportunity to come out and take over someone's body or take a soul or whatever it is that they do. And that she said that that the husband told Jane that they would probably never find them again, their bodies, that some demon, don't know if it was the devil himself, but some demon had come and took them and did whatever they wanted to do with them. And so she, you know, she lost her job, and she had just said that she, you know, told everybody that she was just having some personal issues, that her brother had died, and you know, due to whatever it is that she said. But obviously she couldn't tell them what really happened because, you know, I just don't think that some people would understand. And that the brother and the friend are still considered missing. And as of 7 or 8 years ago, the last time that I talked to my friend, they had never found him. And she no longer does nursing. She is getting psychiatric help, not because she's crazy, but because the fear that she got from seeing this demon completely changed her, and it can no longer function in life because of the fear that took over her, and from what she experienced with her brother, what happened. So I was like, whoa. So she was just, you know, she was just telling me a lot of other crazy stories that, you know, that, and I shouldn't say crazy, a lot of very sad stories that happened to people who call upon demons for help, and they end up taking over their body and either possessing them, or in this case, taking them and doing whatever it is that they do and taking them wherever it is that they take them. Okay, guys, so I hope y'all enjoyed this story. I think the next video I'm going to make is going to be on my my witchy room. Alright guys, as always, love y'all. Blessed be. Bye.